Hi, you guys. I'm Joe Katz, and welcome to the Katz Walk. I have got an amazing guest today. I've got Tasya Teles. She is in the show, the CW 100. It's an absolutely great show. She is so radiant, so beautiful. You have to tune in and see her. She tells us some great stories about meeting up with a very funny fan, some of her favorite fashion tips, and a lot of things she hasn't shared with her fans yet are all in this episode. So stay tuned. Well, Tasya Teles is here. Thank you so much, Tasya, for coming. I'm so glad that you are able to join us. Now, you're based where? Are you in New York?
I was intending on moving back to New York, but I'm in Mexico.
Oh, you're in Mexico.
I kind of got stuck here. Yeah, I'm in Mexico. I'm in Tulum. Yeah.
Cool. But home for you is Canada, right? That's where you grew up.
Yeah, I grew up in Canada. I hopped across, from Vancouver to Montreal. I was born in Toronto. So I spent my life kind of between those cities, but I've also spent time in New York and in LA and in Miami as well, around the States.
You're a gypsy all over. Yes. So when you were growing up, did you always think I wanted to be an actress?
I mean, I always wanted to be an actor. I just didn't think it was going to be like I didn't think it was like an actual job. Like I was like, this is too glorious and too much fun to be a real job. Jobs are work. You have to have, they should be grueling and not fun.
Right.
And I loved being an artist, but it just didn't seem like a possibility for me. And my parents wanted me to go in a certain direction. They wanted, they were encouraging engineering and computer science and things that I, at the time, was like, I have no idea what this is. So I was like, I'm going to go to university. I decided I was going to go into finance, into business, because I thought, when I do become a big artist, whatever that means, at least I'll know how to take care of my money. If that's the worst thing that could happen, if I go to, pick this
exactly
as my degree.
Right.
But man, it was tough. It was tough times. It was like, yeah.
It was tough times. You mean when you were going to school or growing up?
Like an artist in finance. Yeah, it was a clash of worlds. I was like, what am I doing here?
Oh, an artist in finance, of course. Yeah. Did you actually go through college and study a finance?
I had like about a semester or two left, and I took an acting class as a kind of easy A. I was like, I love this. So I'm like, I need something a little lighter to balance me out, because I'd been spending these horrifically long nights in the library doing math over and over and over and over and over again. And so I took this acting class, and I was just like, bing, like right away, like I just felt like I was seeing the world in color. And I walked out of the theater and I called my mom and I said, Mom, I'm going to become an actress. This is amazing. Like, I'm so alive right now. And she goes, oh, Jesus, Tasya. Because I was like, I'm going to switch my major. She said, oh, Jesus, like, no, anything but that kind of thing, But so we kind of made a agreement. She was like, just finish your degree. You're so close to the end. So I did. And then I kind of started all over again when I was 24, 25. I started exploring acting.
Wow. Oh, so you graduated. You could actually do my taxes. I would rather hang out with you than you do my taxes. Wow, that's amazing. That's so cool. You have such a great you're like a live big personality. I couldn't imagine, like, for me, I know like school, but for you to do accounting or just finance, it's like, wow, that's amazing.
It's not like before. I feel like my parents, like, they were more like, you pick one route and you get a gold watch. But now there's so much movement,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, there's so many different things. So then was this all in Canada that you were going to school, college?
Yeah, it was in Montreal, which is a great university town.
And how did you get over to acting? Did you go back to college, or you went to like a private acting school, or?
I did a 6-month intensive, and I was lucky. And then I would fly to LA. So I flew back to Vancouver. I was going to study acting in Toronto or Vancouver, but my mom fell ill at the time, so I went back to Vancouver. Which I was very resistant to because I felt like, I went to high school there. I didn't want to go back to Vancouver. I wanted to go to New York or Toronto, or just I wanted to be in a bigger city. But I went back to Vancouver. I did a few 6-month intensives. I gave myself 3 years of studying. I treated it like a degree. So, and then I would fly and do workshops in LA. I would save all my money and I would fly and do these workshops with like big teachers. And they really drilled into me the importance of being a regimented, technical actor and the importance of theater and stuff.
What kind of acting did you study? Was it like Meisner or Stanislavski or
all of it? I was so excited. It was like the first time in my life that it didn't feel like I was working. Like I would sit there just like watching and being like so captivated by like how like everything was cool, how voice affects us and vibrationally and like everything about acting I find so mystifying and magical. I just was just the happiest student ever. So yeah, I've trained across all sorts of different disciplines.
So then how did it go, Tasya, from you going from the school and then, training, and then how did it get into like, what was your first role?
Oh man, that's a story and a half. Okay.
We want to know. We want to know.
You can do all the theater training you want, but if you don't know how to land an audition, you're not going to get the job in the first place. So there was a lot of audition camera technique. So I really, really, really think that's an important one for people who are, beginning to build their acting business, is that they understand how to prepare a proper audition. And now that there's no casting rooms, it's like we're all stuck at home trying to figure out how to operate the camera and use it properly, But at the time, people weren't spending much time doing that. And so I would say that's a big one. But I just studied audition technique like crazy. And then I started, and I wanted to make sure I was really, really prepared for the first time I walked into the casting room, because I wanted to be like, boom, like here I go,
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And so I waited and I waited and I was patient and I waited until I remember I was in audition technique class, and I remember I started getting like really bored, and I felt like I had filled my head. I was almost at a point where I was like, I can go out into the room now. Like I kind of know all there is to know, I think, right now at this stage. So I'm going to try it out. And I went to do my first audition. And I remember they said, you have to be comfortable in the nude. And I'm like, if you met my parents, you would be like we're like nudists. We just would, growing up like hippies, walking around naked, eating like almonds, just, it was a very hippie-ish house. So I was like, yeah, totally fine with that. But then I was like, what is actually going to happen here? So I go to the audition, and I had to wear a bikini underneath my outfit in case they wanted to test just how comfortable I could be, being in the nude, because this role was for a high-paid escort, and there was a sex scene, and in the sex scene, the guys, there was the sex scene happening between me and a girl and a guy, and one of the guys dies. I'm going to give the whole story away.
Oh, no.
And then so I run through the apartment screaming, and I'm naked. So they had to make sure that I could be able to do that. So at the end of the audition, they were like, that was really great, They made me, it was a part of the whole get up, show that I was comfortable. So I just took off my top, and I was just standing there in my bikini top and my jeans. And they were like, yeah, that's you're obviously fine. Cause I was just oh,
you just took off your top.
Yeah. And they're like, yeah, you're you're obviously very comfortable.
You want me to take off the bottoms too?
Yeah. I mean, that would never fly today, I don't think. But I mean, we don't even have casting rooms to begin with. But that was pre-Me Too movement and stuff like that. And so that was my first role. And I just remember being so freaked out on the day on set. Like, just because not only did I have to run around more or less naked, they give you little like modesty patches, which are, you know, nude colored underwear.
Right.
But I also had to like be like picking up like sugar glass cups and like throwing them around the scene, like the set. So I'm like running around naked, like picking up bottles and just like throwing them around the room, like screaming. And then they'd be like, cut. Okay, let's go again. And I was like, oh, this is so weird. Like, this is the strangest experience. But yeah, it was pretty wild.
That's amazing. So was that your first audition?
That was
one of the beginning?
I think I might have been in like one thing prior, which was like, what's it called? Like a paramedic number 2, and I was pushing a gurney.
Yeah.
And then the next one was that one. So I didn't really like know what was going on.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Paramedic number 2 to lead. Yeah. Was this skin trade
that
or
wasn't
no?
Skin trade. That was Rogue. It was Rogue. Yeah. It was part BBC and direct TV, and so they got to be a little bit edgier with their stuff, like, you know, HBO and stuff like that. So,
and so you were fine with it because you were just fine. It's no problem with That's great.
I mean, like, you know, there were some photos that surfaced of like me walking around the beach in Tulum, but just in a bikini, and I like was not thrilled because I'd just come off of a big vacation in Italy where I was just like eating everything. And I just like think no one's here. And there was like these photos of me in a bikini in Tulum. And that was such a lucky day in some other respects because I was actually wearing a full bikini. Thank God. But usually I'm just like, hey, you know, like I'm in the jungle or like I'm very, I guess I don't even know if that's a unique thing, but it's just something.
Yeah. You feel comfortable in your body. You feel very comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you think you became like that? Do you think it was just something like because your parents were very open or you're very just.
Yeah. I think that definitely had to do with my mom normalizing it, you know, that she was a woman and she didn't feel like she had to put herself in, you know, she was just very relaxed and she was very, you know, she was a feminist, but she was also very feminine in her own way, and just very strong in her power. And I guess she just modeled that for me. Yeah. I
mean, you are in amazing shape. Like you can. I mean, I feel like you like you're tall and you're lean. And do you have to work hard at it?
Yeah. I mean, before I didn't have to work at all. It was almost like. But I mean, that's what we all say. You're like, oh, the good old days, you know? Like,
right.
Where you could eat whatever you wanted and there were no repercussions. And then for a moment in time, it became about looking physically fit. So going to the gym became less about fitness and more about how I, you know, aesthetically looked, if I fit into clothes and stuff like that, which I think is a very common female disaster. But now I do it because I enjoy it. Like I do things more like yoga or I dance.
Yeah.
I just dance, you know, like I'll just dance if I'm feeling glum.
That's good. And it helps bring up your mood.
Yeah, exactly. Like I need to work out because of my mood and, you know, and it makes me happy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Especially like after last year, don't you find like it was such a strange year and I found myself reaching and doing things to pick myself up. And so I discovered that working out was actually something that did that for me, despite having previously, you know.
Yeah, definitely. When I'm feeling like, you know, when I go do sit-ups or I go do push-ups or whatever, but I gotta do more of that. But because you're very beautiful, you're a beautiful, you know, I think a lot of girls, I think guys look up to you. They think, wow, she's so gorgeous. Like, have you always felt like I'm beautiful? I'm a beautiful girl and I know it.
I mean, no, actually because again, I had a really weird household growing up. Like my father's Brazilian, very Latino. There was a lot of salsa dancing. My parents met in Africa. There was a lot of African influences in African art. And we, it was, and just already there kind of culturally we were different, but my parents were also big computer nerds. So they were coders.
Oh.
So like I was coding at a very young age. So I perceived myself as a big nerd. Like I still do, but I was like, so when I went into high school, I was like in shock when like a guy, was interested in me. I was like, I didn't know what to do about it. I was like, what is happening? Yeah. So.
Do you feel beautiful now?
Definitely. And
you do?
Yeah. And it's a weird that it's like a long time coming, but like, it's just, it's such a harsh world out there. And for me, it's really important to be around other strong women and to be connected to nature. So when I'm, in Mexico here in the jungle, or when I'm in Vancouver and I get to be outside or in a garden, that really connects me. It just makes me feel more beautiful.
Yeah.
There's something about like the natural connection with that just, brightens me, I guess. I don't know.
So I
don't know what that's about, but.
Yeah. Well, you're just more connected to, I don't know, you feel more like an outdoorsy, like you love dancing and nature and, cool, fun stuff. Yeah. Living life.
And yet when I was in my 20s, I would have never thought that. Like I considered, like, I was like, when someone would be like, do you want to go for a hike? I'd be like, a hike? Like, no. Like, I'm a city person. I go to bars. I don't go on hikes. It was I didn't see myself as a nature person. I saw myself as a city dweller. That's what my identity was.
And what do you think changed?
That's so interesting. I don't know. I mean, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Iowa, so small town Iowa.
And now you're in LA.
And now I'm in LA. But I moved from LA to New York, or Minneapolis, New York, and LA. And I'm kind of more, so I'm kind of more like, I love the outdoors, but then there's another part of me that's like, I like going to a shopping mall.
Yeah.
And I'm in fashion. So I like all that stuff, maybe because I grew up in all of that. So I feel comfortable there. But I do like the outdoors. But I'm just curious, like, what do you think changed for you, like, in that way?
I think, I don't know. I think I just slowed down, like I think I was moving really, really, really fast for a long time. I went from like getting a degree to, I also simultaneously opened a restaurant. So I have 2 restaurants. So I was opening a restaurant, building my acting career. And it was just like I was running through life really quickly. And I think I just needed to pump the brakes, which is largely why I'm here right now. But because like I love fashion, I love food, but now I'm learning to love this, so
being outside in nature and stuff like that. Yeah.
It has its own thing,
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So you what kind of restaurants do you have?
They're like, have you been to, how would you describe it? Because if I said it's a pizzeria, it wouldn't be really, have you been to Katz in LA?
Oh yeah.
Catch, if you just said, oh, it's a seafood place, it wouldn't really encompass all, it's like a funky kind of cocktail bar, but it is a seafood place. And so I have 2 pizzerias and they're called The Parlor, and they're kind of like, they're upbeat, funky pizzerias that play old school hip hop and like a lot of, it's very lively in there for sure.
That's awesome. I read about that you had one, so now you have a second one.
Yeah.
2
we
of
opened
them.
our second, and it's a flagship.
Where are they?
Yeah, in Toronto. Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
So that one is, it's across the street from the Thompson Hotel downtown, and it used to be an old piano factory. So we gutted it, and we have a giant piano hanging from the ceiling now.
God. Oh my God, that's so cool.
Yeah, you have to come.
Yes, I would love to come. I haven't been to Canada in forever, ever and ever and ever. That's amazing. You're like in so many different things. I love it. I love it. if you I looked at your Instagram and you look at your life and you were on the 100 and, and the hit show, that really took off on the CW. And it's like, I always look at people and you see people on social media and you always think, oh God, their life is amazing. Their life is great. Everything is perfect for them, but it's like, I always wonder sometimes, like, did you have struggles along the way? Were there struggles?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have a finicky relationship with Instagram to begin with because it just does such a bad job of really showing anybody what's really going on, and I'm usually very private. And I think my resolution for 2021 is to be less fearful and, speak about things with a bit more courage. But I've had a lot of, I've dealt with depression and anxiety issues, for a long, at least 10 years, for at least, yeah. So, mental health is a big one for me. And I think also that's what draws me to nature, is that I found that would really help. But learning about mental illness, mental health, I think is a really important thing that we are all doing right now. And I'm learning how to speak about it, I guess, truthfully, but it definitely isn't something I'll post little things on my Instagram about mental health and in support of it and whatnot in my stories, but I don't go on Instagram very much.
And talk about that.
I try to. Yeah. I've been intending on talking about it more, but I don't know how.
It's hard. It is hard, because it's very personal. Yeah. It's very personal. And it's I think a lot of times people I'll look at something and you're like, her life looks amazing. It's amazing. She doesn't have any problems. Trust me. I can tell you now, she has no problem. But it's I think it's important for people to hear, because I think it gives them, I think we're all human and we all have our ups and downs and we all have our stuff. But I think just hearing that from you now and not knowing that, I feel like that gives people inspiration to go, you know what? She has a great life, but she has her struggles too. And that doesn't mean that I can't be successful if I have issues,
Yeah. And I think, that a big part of that, I think how you present yourself to the world, and the fact that, we all have our own peccadillos and our own struggles and our own things that make us quirky and weird and things that we're not sure about, and big decisions and big things that, events that affect us, we're always getting kind of tumbled around. Things aren't always beautiful. It's important to recognize that, because this digital age makes it easy to forget. And one of the things I also have, another resolution, was that I was going to stop editing my photos. Oh. You know what I mean? Where you can kind of edit your photo. I was like, I'm going to stop doing that, because I don't think that that's helpful. It's wasting my time, first of all. But, that's where I'll go to a photographer and we'll do a glorious shoot, and it can be more creative. Right. But I don't have to be worrying about, making my life look like it's this perfect, glistening, pearl, when it's not reality.
How have you dealt with the mental health stuff? Do you go to therapy? Is it just medication? Is it just stuff that you're just continuing to help?
No, I definitely try to stay away from medication, just because those are, I just don't know. To me, those are last resort things. But sometimes, they're first step things. I can't really speak to that because that's so individualistic, but I definitely know that finding a good therapist is hugely important, because there's a lot of ones that aren't great or just not good fits for you, and those become your teachers, and those help, with becoming your sounding boards, to hearing your self and understanding your own cycles and your own patterns of ups and downs and how you deal with things. But reading about it, I also realized my therapist told me, she was well, what are your needs with this relationship? And I was like, well, I don't know. I realized I didn't have a lexicon or the vocabulary to describe what I needed, out of things or in relationships with friends or boyfriends or whomever. And I didn't have a lexicon for what emotions were. I would always say that I feel frustrated. She was like, well, get behind that. Like, what type? Like, that's not a feeling. She was, that's not a feeling. And I'm like, yes, it
right.
is.
I'm telling you, it's frustrated.
I'm feeling it right now.
Yes,
yes. You know?
And so she taught you that? She taught you how to get behind that?
It's essentially self-care, you know, like learning about yourself, like what works, what doesn't. I found writing works really well for me. Dancing works really well for me. Being in nature works really well for me.
That's very cool. I always just like people, you know, just to know that that whatever people's struggle is, or whatever, if there is or there isn't or whatever, there's options and there's opportunities. And I think people look up to you know, as such a great kind of strong role model. And yeah, I think it's great. And when I was looking at your Instagram, I saw how fashionable you are.
I love fashion.
Very fashionable.
It's so upsetting in like the best way, because I have so many clothes, and I love like thrift shopping. I love vintage. I love all of it. And I can't get rid of my clothes. I'm just like, you'll never get these from me. Yes.
And you have a great body I mean, like you'll wear like fitted, sexy, you know, I love that stuff. How would you describe your style? What would you say your style is?
So funny. We were just having this conversation with someone who's designing some jewelry for me. And he's like, I was looking at your Instagram and I didn't know what to take from it. And I'm like, well, I love like t-shirt and jeans. Like I like, you know, red lip. Yeah. Roughed up jeans, and then like a t-shirt and some jewelry, just like a really simple classic, and then with like a stiletto, like that's a great baseline with like, you know, like a rocker jacket or whatever. But I also would say I'm like, there's some bohemian kind of gypsy stuff that's going on sometimes. There's, you know, I love high fashion. Like I love high fashion.
Who's your favorite, like in high fashion? I know when people ask me, I'm always like, oh my God, there's so many, you know, but like just when like things you just love or designs that you've seen.
Oh my God, this is a tough one.
Do you like Balmain? Do you like Balmain? I could see you in Balmain.
Yeah. With those built structured shoulders, like 1,000%. Yes. Yeah. Deep V's and stuff like that.
Have you ever seen, you'd be so awesome in, do you know this brand called Alexander Vauthier?
Yeah, of course.
He's awesome.
Actually,
Isn't he beautiful?
My first red carpet I was wearing at Balmain. That was my first, I was so excited. It was for Skin Trade. And I was just like, I got to go to, you know, I can't remember which store. I think it was Saks. And I picked it out and I was just like, and they packed it for me. We're trying to decide which size, a 4 or 6. And it was like this strappy, had like a strap across the top, strap around the boobs, and then kind of like a skirt, but it was a black dress. And she packed the wrong size. So I'm getting my hair and makeup done. I'm about to go do my first red carpet. I'm terrified. But I'm also like very excited. And my head like look all glamorous, and I put on the dress and it's the wrong size. And the top and the middle partition just fall off of my like like sags and off of my boobs because she got it too big. She put in the bigger size, and I was like, I was like, I don't know what to do. So I spent the whole time, but I realized if I made my ribs really big, I could keep the dress on. So I spent the whole red carpet like walking around just trying.
That's how you did it?
But also like it was like such a bizarre like experience, but I got through it. But, yeah, that's my Balmain dress story. But wow. That's crazy. A great call. You nailed it.
Yeah, I thought you'd be great in that stuff because it's very fitted. It's very sexy. It's got a very it's got a very hot look that you'd be great. 2 things I wanted to mention because you mentioned Skin Trade, and I watched that movie, and you got behind that with a cause. I read.
Yeah, I feel that human trafficking is one of the worst things in the world.
Yeah.
And it's something that, especially at that time, wasn't getting a lot of press because it was it was one of those closeted subjects, almost like it was too ugly to look at the underbelly of society or something like that. And so I was like, I'll take this issue on. This needs to be spoken about. And so I made a campaign, a website called Unslaved, where we sell bracelets, and all of the money goes to supporting organizations that fight human trafficking and provide relief.
That's so cool. Yeah. I mean, I think it's something that we all still don't know, it's like something that is very, very important to put a light on, that just doing that movie inspired you to put that together.
Well, actually I had, that was something like my third, that was a very early role, I remember, but I had read a book. I got sick in university. I got meningitis and I couldn't walk for a few months. So my muscles were all atrophied and I couldn't get out of bed. My mom, the ever academic professor, sends me this like stack, because I was thinking about switching my major and I was like, maybe I should go into women's studies, but I don't even know what that means or where you would go with that. So she's like, yes, that's a great idea. So she like sends me a stack of super academic books, and one of those books and then they just sat there collecting dust for a bit, because I was like, I'm not reading those books. Like, I'd rather flick around on the internet. And then eventually I picked up one of those books. It was called Half the Sky. And that was where I really started learning about human trafficking. And that's the book that kind of inspired me. And then once I got into skin trade, I felt like I had more of a voice that I could actually start doing something.
Gosh, you have so many interesting trails through your life. It's amazing. I love it. I love it. Yeah, that's so great.
My fingers are so many little
we're digging
honeypots.
into all of it. Yeah, I'm doing it with my bow tie on too. I'm like digging. So fun.
I want a bow tie. That's my favorite color. That's so cute. Is that purple?
Yes, that's my signature. So I'm always like, I always wear a bow tie on my interviews. That's my dig, so.
You must have so many. How many do you have?
Oh God, I don't even know, but I've started making them big. So I made them really big bows and all of that, so that they're not like the small ones. I'm like, if you're going to go big or go home, So
that's right.
Yes,
you get it.
I have a couple more questions, because can you believe we're almost like over 40 minutes?
Oh my God.
Okay, so I have a couple more questions, and then we're going to have to wrap it up, and I'm going to let you go back in Tulum and go run through the water and the sand and the beach and everything. But one of the things I saw that you do a lot of conventions, right? Because of the 100, the show that you're on, you run. So you go to, and I was just always interested because you travel so much, like for these conventions, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
What is like the most interesting fan question or something like a crazy fan that, because I know there's these super fans that just love you and they love Echo, the actress, and and they get into it so much. I'm just wondering, is there any interesting fan stories? Like, did somebody propose to you?
Definitely.
Did somebody make a tattoo of you?
Of course. I think I'm married or engaged to several people across the globe at this point, but so actually I had completely forgotten about this story until Jessica, who's also on the show, she brought it up at a convention on stage when they were asking about fan stories. And we were actually in Mexico, in Tulum. My mom lives here. She's lived here for 7 years. And Jessica, it's her second time. Oh. And we land, we pick up a rental car, we hit the highway, we're coming in. We go pick up my mom. We're going to go have dinner. And there's this like busy, bustling street. And we sit down, we order our appetizers, and Jess just keeps on going, like, are you guys, so like, how safe is Tulum? And we're like, oh, it's like so safe. It's like nothing ever happens here. Not 2 minutes later, we hear bap, 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 bap. And we're all sitting there, and you can just see that all three of us were just like, that's firecrackers for this split moment. And then all of a sudden, boom, like this crowd explodes and people are just running. So we don't know what to do. So we're like, everyone runs into the back of the restaurant. So we're like climbing over like chairs and tables. And then like the guys that were, I guess, getting mad at each other or shooting at each other ended up like kind of getting arrested right in front of where our table was. And we're in the back. And so like we get quarantined into this restaurant. Like there's this one girl from, I think, Australia, and she's crying and she's trying to call her mom. And everyone's like in this tight little corner. My mom's handing out tequila shots, just being like, everything's going to be fine. And this chick is crying. And then she just stops. She's like, are you on the 100? And like, it was just like everything. And then like me and Jessica were like, we like turn around and we're like, yeah. And she's like, your echo, do something. And I was like, what do you want me to do? Like, what am I supposed to do right now?
Oh, like you could.
I was like,
oh, that's so funny.
I think you're like in shock or something. And then she's like, well, can I get a photo with you guys? And we were like, yeah, this is so weird. So like, you know, like, yeah, in the middle of like a giant gang violence, like Mexican cartel shoot, someone was like asking for a photo and telling you to, and that would be the craziest story because of
the that is.
Yeah, the circumstances.
Jeez, in the middle, she wanted you to use your superpowers because you can do it with your sword. Like you'd bring out your sword. Amazing.
Yeah. I'd never go anywhere without my sword.
That's right. That is right. Okay, I have my very last question. Tell me one thing you haven't told anyone that could help somebody else. So just one thing that maybe you haven't told anybody that you're like, you know, if I said this would probably help. It would help somebody else.
I'll give two quick responses. One of the biggest things that I've learned how to do that is helpful is take 3 really big breaths and just to relax your nervous system when you're feeling like things are getting too crazy. But also it's to not take life too seriously. When you feel like, you know, the world is like, those are the moments where I literally put on my biggest headphones and I turn up my favorite song and I would just have a big, big dance party. I have to bring some silliness and some levity and some fun back into what feels like such a crazy pressurized world. And so just to always like have fun and remember to breathe and it's all going to work out.
Breathe. I think that's so true because honestly, I think when we get nervous or we get scared about anything, we like hold our breath and we don't even know it. So I think that's great advice.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Well, Tasya, you have been fabulous. You've shared everything. You've said it all. You've said everything, and I love it. I think everybody's going to love hearing everything that you had to say. So I appreciate you coming. Thank you so much for taking the time. Go enjoy. I don't even know what time it is there, but enjoy the sun, the beach, everything there, and dance and say hello to everybody that I don't know there.
Okay, I will.
Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Joe. You're lovely and amazing, and I love your bow ties.
Thanks for listening to The Katz Walk. Make sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app. This has been a production of Evergreen Podcast. A special thank you to executive producer Gerardo Orlando, producer Leah Longbreak, and audio engineer Dave Douglas.